Nobody expected Maria Thompson, a quiet janitor, to become the most influential figure in the room. The office hummed with the morning's chaos, but Maria, 62, slipped in unnoticed through a back entrance, pushing her cleaning cart with steady determination. Her navy blue uniform shielded her like armor, her expression serene, hiding the storm within. To the executives, she was invisible. Just the janitor who scrubbed their desks and cleared their trash, barely worth a glance. They never saw her power. For years, at Carter and Wells, a booming Dallas corporation, Maria had been overlooked. Now, in her early 60s, she'd grown accustomed to the routine and the dismissive glances. She overheard their snide remarks when they thought she was out of earshot, their complaints about her presence. "She's just standing there," an executive grumbled last month, waiting to clean the boardroom. Maria stayed composed, her hands steady, never betraying her thoughts. They didn't know she held a secret that could shake the company. Maria wasn't reckless. She thrived on patience, observing silently as she moved through the gleaming hallways. Today, though, her calm exterior masked a growing tension. She was nearing her limit. She polished glass doors to a shine, vacuumed the plush lobby carpet, and tidied messy desks left by careless executives. Their chatter about deals and promotions filled the air, oblivious to her presence. But Maria wasn't just cleaning, she was preparing. Her secret, carefully guarded, could unravel Carter and Wells entirely. The morning progressed as usual. Maria scrubbed fingerprints from elevator panels and organized scattered files on desks. She wasn't eavesdropping, but a conversation caught her ear, too loud to ignore. "The investors' meeting is in a week," one executive boasted, voice dripping with confidence. "The board's eating out of our hands. The CEO's untouchable." Maria's grip tightened on her cart. She knew something they didn't. Their arrogance was misplaced, and soon they'd see how wrong they were. She kept moving, focused. Carter and Wells projected a polished image, its sleek Dallas skyscraper gracing business magazines as a corporate triumph. Inside, the reality was cutthroat. The higher you climbed, the less you cared about those below. Maria, nearly a decade in these halls, saw it all. Promotions given to the loudest, not the best. Shady deals whispered behind doors. Blame pinned on the powerless. The CEO, Richard Hayes, ruled with fear, his charisma masking a ruthless streak that crushed dissent. Richard, 48, was a master of intimidation. His voice dominated meetings, his sharp tongue silencing challengers. Success was his god. People were pawns. Maria overheard his cruel jabs about staff who didn't fit his vision. "Why's she still here?" he'd sneered about an aging receptionist. "She's dead weight." Maria felt the sting of his words, but she didn't flinch. She'd seen bonuses slashed for low-level staff while executives toasted record profits. The company's ethics were a facade, crumbling under scrutiny. Maria witnessed the underbelly of Carter and Wells, inflated expense accounts, questionable client deals, and the quiet dismissal of a whistleblower who dared speak out. The cleaning crew Maria included bore the brunt. She'd seen colleagues humiliated for minor oversights, their wages frozen despite heavier workloads. Executives avoided eye contact, treating them like fixtures. Maria's patience was vast, but not infinite. Each slight, each injustice, fueled her resolve. She wasn't just cleaning, she was collecting evidence, biding her time. One memory seared Maria's mind. A nervous intern, barely 20, spilled soda on the lobby's marble floor near Richard's office. He froze as Richard stormed over. "This is a joke," Richard barked, glaring at Maria, who'd just arrived with her mop. "Fix it," he snapped, as if she'd caused the mess. The intern stammered apologies, but Richard dismissed him. To him, Maria and the intern were nothing. These moments stacked up, each one sharpening Maria's focus, her anger simmering beneath her calm. Maria never crumbled. She channeled disrespect into determination, storing each incident like kindling for a fire she'd soon ignite. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. While executives ignored her, she watched, listened, and learned. Carter and Wells thrived by exploiting its people, but Maria saw through the gloss. She wasn't just noting injustices, she was plotting. Her secret gave her leverage, and soon she'd use it. The company's arrogance would be its downfall, and Maria was ready to strike. Maria's secret wasn't just knowledge, it was power. She wasn't merely a janitor, she was the majority shareholder of Carter and Wells, a role she'd inherited after her husband, James, died unexpectedly. James, a savvy investor, had quietly amassed shares in the company's infancy, when few believed in its future. By his passing, those shares gave Maria control. At first, she felt out of place, a widow in her 50s with no boardroom experience. But she learned to wield her influence. Being invisible was Maria's strength. She moved through the office unnoticed, gathering insights no executive suspected. She overheard plans, saw weaknesses, and understood the company's pulse. Her role as a janitor let her observe without raising alarms. She wasn't a strategist by training, but life had taught her resilience. Maria didn't act rashly. She waited, building her case. Her husband's legacy wasn't just shares. It was a chance to right wrongs, and Maria was determined to honor that legacy with precision. The tipping point came one evening as Maria cleaned the executive break room. Two managers lingered over whiskey, chuckling about planned layoffs. "It's so easy to trim the fat," one said, smirking. "Nobody cares about these people." Maria, hidden by the door, gripped her rag tightly. These weren't just jobs, they were lives, families, dreams. The callousness burned. That night, she sat at her kitchen table, pen in hand, mapping out a plan to expose the rot within Carter and Wells. Maria's first move was to gather more intel. She used her access to note conversations, track schedules, and glance at carelessly left documents. She wasn't spying, just piecing together the truth. Her second step was to rally allies, a lawyer friend, a financial analyst, and a former employee burned by the company. They helped her refine her strategy, ensuring her evidence was ironclad. Maria wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for everyone Carter and Wells had dismissed or degraded. The final step tested Maria's nerve. Confronting Richard and the board demanded more than proof. It required unshakable confidence. Alone in her small apartment, she rehearsed her speech, her voice firm yet calm. This wasn't just about her, it was about every overlooked worker, every silenced voice. The investors' meeting loomed, and Maria was ready. She wasn't just a janitor, she held the company's fate. Her heart raced, but her resolve was steel. The reckoning was coming, and she'd lead it. The day of the investors' meeting dawned with a buzz of confidence in the Carter and Wells Tower. Executives strutted through the halls, bragging about profits and untouchable leadership. None noticed Maria guiding her cart to the top-floor boardroom, her face as unreadable as ever. The boardroom gleamed, its mahogany table reflecting the Dallas skyline through vast windows. Richard Hayes sat at the head, exuding authority, his smile smug. Maria entered silently, setting a water pitcher down, blending into the background. Nobody glanced at Maria as she stood by the side table. To them she was scenery, not a player, but this time she stayed. "Excuse me," she said, her voice slicing through the room's chatter. Heads turned, irritation flickering across faces. Richard barely looked up. "We're busy," he said, waving her off. Maria didn't budge. "I know," she replied, her tone steady. "That's why I'm here." Richard's eyes narrowed, his patience thin, but Maria was just beginning. Richard leaned back, his smirk dripping condescension. "Unless you're here to mop the floor, leave," he said. Maria stood taller, unfazed, pulling a sleek folder from her cart. The Carter and Wells logo glared from the cover, alongside Investors Report. The room stilled. Richard's expression flickered. Maria stepped forward, placing the folder on the table. "For years, I've watched this company profit by breaking its people," she said, her voice ringing with quiet power. "That ends today." Whispers rippled around the table. A board member frowned, eyeing the folder. "What is this?" he asked. Maria opened it, her movements deliberate. "This is proof," she said. "Proof of mismanagement, unethical deals, and disregard for the workers who built this company." Richard's face hardened, but Maria didn't waver. She'd spent years preparing, and her evidence was airtight. The room's air grew heavy, the executive's confidence cracking. Maria wasn't just speaking, she was dismantling their world. Richard's voice cut through the tension. "Who do you think you are?" he snapped, standing now, his authority fraying. "You're a janitor." Maria met his glare, her calm unshaken. "No, Mr. Hayes," she said, her words like a blade. "I'm the majority shareholder of Carter and Wells." Gasps echoed. Richard's jaw tightened, his confidence crumbling. Maria's gaze swept the room, unwavering. "And today I'm holding you accountable." The boardroom froze, her words reshaping the company's future in an instant. The revelation landed like a bombshell. Richard's face paled, his bravado unraveling. "This is absurd," he stammered, but his voice lacked conviction. Maria stood firm, her presence commanding. "It's not absurd," she said. "It's the truth." She turned to the board, her eyes sharp. "I've documented everything. Shady deals, ignored complaints, and layoffs for profit. I have the votes to change this company, and I'm starting with him." The room braced for impact, Maria's power undeniable. Maria's folder lay open, its contents a damning chronicle of Carter and Wells' sins. Board members flipped through pages, their expressions shifting from shock to grim acceptance. Richard tried to interrupt, but Maria's voice held the room. "You've built wealth on broken trust," she said. "No more." Her evidence was meticulous, her resolve unbreakable. The board knew she wasn't bluffing. Maria wasn't just a janitor, she was their reckoning, and the company would never be the same. Maria's words echoed in the stunned boardroom. "I'm removing you, Mr. Hayes," she declared, her voice unwavering. Richard's face drained of color, his smirk gone. "You can't," he sputtered. But the board's silence told a different story. Maria's folder held undeniable proof: falsified reports, unethical layoffs, buried harassment claims. She turned to the board, her gaze piercing. "I'm exercising my voting power," she said. "He's out." The room erupted in murmurs, Richard's reign crumbling under Maria's quiet strength. Chaos engulfed the boardroom. Richard shouted, his voice desperate, but the board members pored over Maria's evidence. Her years of silent observation had built an airtight case. One by one they nodded, confirming her claims. The vote was swift. Richard Hayes was ousted. By afternoon, security escorted him out, his protests fading. Maria stood tall, her expression calm but resolute. The executives who once ignored her now stared, awestruck. She'd toppled a giant, and her work was just beginning. News of Richard's exit spread like wildfire. By morning, Carter and Wells buzzed with disbelief. How had Maria, the unassuming janitor, been the majority shareholder? Whispers filled break rooms, no longer mocking but reverent. Some felt guilt for dismissing her. Maria didn't linger on their shock. She returned the next day, not with a mop but a notebook, ready to reshape the company. Her goal wasn't vengeance, it was justice for every worker who'd been undervalued or erased. Maria wasted no time. She pushed for raises for the cleaning crew and other overlooked staff, ensuring fair pay for their labor. She revamped HR, introducing independent oversight to handle complaints transparently. The toxic culture Richard fostered began to erode. Maria demanded accountability from the board, once complicit in his schemes. She launched training on ethics and inclusion, fostering respect at every level. For the first time, employees felt valued, their voices heard in a company reborn. Maria's changes rippled outward. She held town halls inviting workers from all ranks to share ideas. She listened intently, jotting notes, ensuring everyone had a stake in Carter and Wells' future. One day, the young intern who'd spilled soda approached her. "Thank you," he said, eyes earnest. "You've changed everything." Maria smiled softly. "We did this together," she replied. Outside, the Dallas skyline gleamed, reflecting a company no longer defined by greed but by shared purpose. Maria's impact went beyond policies. She inspired hope, proving that power lies in resilience, not arrogance. Employees once silenced now spoke freely, their ideas shaping a stronger company. Maria didn't seek the spotlight, she sought change. She walked the halls no longer invisible, her presence a reminder of what integrity could achieve. The board, once skeptical, now followed her lead, recognizing her vision. Carter and Wells wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, built on trust and fairness. Months later, Maria stood outside the skyscraper, gazing at its glass facade. She'd entered these doors unnoticed for years, but now she'd rewritten its story. This wasn't just about ousting a CEO. It was about proving anyone could spark change, no matter how overlooked. Maria's journey showed that patience and courage could dismantle corruption. She felt a quiet pride, not for glory, but for the people she'd uplifted. The company's new path was her legacy, etched in every reformed policy. Maria took a deep breath, the Dallas sun warming her face. She'd carried the weight of invisibility, but now she stood tall, her purpose clear. She walked away, not fading into the shadows, but stepping into a new chapter. Her story was a testament to quiet strength, a reminder that the underestimated can shift the world. Maria had proven that justice, wielded with resolve, could triumph over greed, inspiring others to find their own power within. Life often overlooks those who work in silence, but Maria's story proves their strength can change everything. Her courage turned a corrupt empire into a beacon of fairness, showing that power lies in action, not status. If her journey moved you, share it with others. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of resilience and justice. Together, we can celebrate the unsung heroes who remind us that anyone can make a difference, no matter how invisible they seem. In the gleaming Dallas skyscraper of Carter and Wells, Maria Thompson, a 62-year-old janitor, transformed from invisible to invincible, her quiet strength toppling a corrupt empire. Her story, pulsing with the raw drama of resilience, offers two profound lessons. First, patience is a weapon sharper than steel. Maria endured years of dismissive sneers and unethical dealings, shady expense accounts, silenced whistleblowers, and callous layoffs overheard in whiskey-soaked break rooms. Instead of lashing out, she watched, waited, and gathered evidence, her mop a silent ally. When she struck, revealing herself as the majority shareholder. Her meticulously built case ousted CEO Richard Hayes in a boardroom thunderclap, proving that timing, not temper, wins wars. Second, the overlooked hold untapped power. Maria, unseen in her navy blue uniform, saw what executives missed. The company's heart, its workers, bled under greed. Her reforms, raises for janitors, transparent HR, town halls where interns spoke freely, rebuilt Carter and Wells on dignity, not dollars. In a culture that worships the loud, Maria's triumph, forged in Dallas's 100-degree heat, screams that the quiet can reshape the world. Her legacy, etched in the 40-story glass tower, reminds us, endure, observe, and act when the moment burns right. Every ignored voice, from the mailroom to the penthouse, can spark change, their resolve a fire no arrogance can extinguish. Maria's story, a beacon for America's underdogs, demands we look closer. Justice often wears a janitor's uniform, ready to rewrite history. What's your story of overcoming being overlooked? Share below how you've turned invisibility into power, just like Maria. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring tales of resilience and justice that prove anyone can spark change. Join our community to uncover valuable lessons and fuel your own journey. Hit that button now and let's grow together.